Dear students, today we will discuss about population regulation. The main objectives of today's lecture are: number 1, to understand the concept of population and its characteristics. Number 2, to highlight the important concept of carrying capacity. Number 3, to introduce you with the density dependent and density independent factors regulating the population growth. And finally, we will understand how density independent factors can sometimes act in a density dependent manner and vice versa. First of all, let's see what a population is and what are its various attributes. A population can be defined as a group of interbreeding individuals occupying the same area at the same time. Every population has several characteristics or attributes such as density, natality, motility, growth forms, etc. Now we will discuss them one by one. Let's first move to population density. Density is expressed as the total number of individuals per unit area or volume at a given time. The two types of densities are: number 1, crude density, which is defined as the density per unit total space, and specific or ecological density, which is the density per unit of habitat space, that is available area or volume that can actually be colonized by the population. Number 2, birth rate or natality rate. Natality rate is the rate at which new individuals are added to a particular population. This may occur due to birth of young ones or hatching of eggs or germination of seeds or spores. It is generally expressed as number of births per 1000 individuals of a population per year. Natality can be of two types: physiological or maximum natality, which refers to the maximum production of new individuals under ideal conditions. But it is never realized because of environmental resistance like inter- and intra-specific competitions, availability of food, space, etc. Number 2, realized or ecological natality, that refers to the actual birth rate which is achieved under existing conditions. Higher realized natality rate increases the population size and population density. Number 3, death or mortality rate. Mortality rate is the rate at which the individuals die or get killed. It is the opposite of natality rate. Mortality rate is generally expressed as number of deaths per 1000 individuals of a population per year. Mortality can also be of two types: ecological or realized mortality. It is the loss of individuals under given environmental conditions. It's not constant but varies with population and environmental conditions. It decreases the population size and population density as well. Potential mortality or minimum mortality. It represents the loss of individuals under ideal or non-limiting conditions. Number 4, age distribution or age composition. The relative abundance of organisms of various age groups in the population is called age distribution of population. With regard to age distribution, there are three kinds of populations: rapidly growing populations, which is a population which has high birth rate and low death rate. So there are more number of young individuals in this population. Number 2, stationary population. It is a population which has equal birth and death rates. So this population shows zero population growth. Number 3, declining population. It is a population which has higher death rate than birth rate. So this population has more numbers of older individuals. Number 5, immigration. Immigration is the permanent entry of new individuals of same species into the population from outside. It increases the size of local populations. Number 6, immigration. Immigration is the permanent movement or departure of individuals of same species out of the local population due to several reasons such as lack of food, scarcity of space which leads to overcrowding, etc. Immigration decreases the size of local population, but at the same time the species spread to new areas. If more individuals are added than lost, then the population will show positive growth. If more individuals are lost than added, then the population will show negative growth. But if the two rates are equal, then the population remains constant and is called zero growth. Number 7. Carrying capacity. The maximum number of individuals of a population which are provided with necessary resources for healthy living is called carrying capacity of the habitat. Size of a population increases till it reaches the carrying capacity of that habitat. When the resources become short of requirement, the population size begins to decrease through different determinants like mortality, etc. Number 8. Natural calamities. A drastic change in the environment destabilizes or even exterminates a population. Natural calamities such as earthquake, volcanic eruptions, etc. cause drastic change in the environment leading to destruction of the resources. Number 9. Abiotic and biotic factors. Abiotic factors like temperature, wind, humidity, rainfall, intensity of light has its effect on the density of population. Biotic factors like organisms of other species living in the same area affect the population as they involve in different types of food relationships. For example, if the population happens to increase in size, it is brought down by an increase in its predators' number or decrease in the amount of available food. Different populations have different ability to tolerate change in weather, physicochemical and biotic factors. This is called resilience. In nature, factors like predators, diseases, food scarcity, etc. prevent a population to soar towards infinity. The sum of all these factors which prevent a population from growing at its maximum rate is called environmental resistance. Number 10. Population fluctuations and cycles. Populations are not stable and always exhibit up and down variations in response to change in environmental or intrinsic factors. The irregular variations in size of populations are called fluctuations, or it's also called as population cycle. A question that immediately arises is whether or not the population is regulated. Regulation of population means that there is some population size that represents a turning point in terms of population growth, called a set point. In regulated populations, the growth rate of population tends to be negative when the population size is greater than the set point, and positive when population size is smaller than the set point. This means that the population grows to the set point when it is below it and declines to set point when it is above it. In unregulated populations, there is no relationship between population growth and population size, or if there is a relationship, the relationship will not result in the population size being stabilized. What mechanisms might regulate populations? Broadly speaking, we can split the factors that regulate population growth into two main groups: density dependent and density independent factors. Now we will directly move to the density dependent factors. Let's start off with an example. Imagine a population of organisms, let's say deer, with access to a fixed constant amount of food. When the population is small, the limited amount of food will be plenty for everyone. But when the population gets large enough, the limited amount of food may no longer be sufficient, leading to competition among the deer. Because of the competition, some deer may die of starvation or fail to have offspring, decreasing the per capita, per individual growth rate and causing population size to shrink. In this scenario, competition for food is a density dependent limiting factor. In general, we define density dependent limiting factors as factors that affect the per capita growth rate of population differently, depending on how dense the population already is. Most density dependent factors make the per capita growth rate go down as the population increases. This is an example of negative feedback that limits population growth. Density dependent limiting factors can lead to a logistic pattern of growth. Here, the population size levels off and stabilizes at the carrying capacity of the environment. This may be a smooth process, or the population size may overshoot the carrying capacity at times. Density dependent limiting factors tend to be biotic living organisms as opposed to physical features of the environment. Some common examples of density dependent limiting factors include competition within the population. When a population reaches a high density, there are more individuals trying to use the same quantity of resources. This can lead to competition for food, water, shelter, mates, light, and other resources needed for the survival and reproduction. Predation. Higher density populations may attract predators who would not bother with the sparser population. When these predators eat individuals from the population, they decrease their number but may increase their own. This can produce interesting cyclical patterns. Disease and parasites. Disease is more likely to break out and result in deaths when more individuals are living together in the same place. Parasites are also more likely to spread under these conditions. Waste accumulation. High population densities can lead to accumulation of harmful waste products that kill individuals or impair reproduction, reducing the population growth. Now we will have a look over density independent factors. Density independent limiting factors affect per capita growth rate independent of how dense the population is. As an example, let's consider a wildfire that breaks out in a forest where deer live. The fire will kill any unlucky deer that are present, regardless of population size. An individual deer's chance of dying does not depend at all on how many other deer are around. Density independent limiting factors often take the form of natural disasters, severe weather, pollution, seasonal cycles, and certain human activities such as damming rivers and clear cutting forests. Some common examples of density independent limiting factors include natural disasters such as droughts, floods, fires, etc. can all influence whatever population are in the area at that time. Not only do these occurrences kill individuals in all populations, they also disrupt the availability of resources for survivors. Abiotic factors. The availability of water and light along with the climate are abiotic factors that limit the growth of a population. Producers responsible for the synthesis of organic material need water and light to synthesize food. Amount of food produced by the primary producers ultimately determines the abundance and density of herbivores and carnivores. For example, in the desert, the biomass is relatively small and populations that live in this ecosystem are smaller compared to the same species in the environments with the large available biomass. Now we will try to understand how density independent factors can sometimes act in a density dependent manner and how density dependent factors can act in a density independent manner. The abiotic factors such as weather can sometimes act in a density dependent manner. In an environment where there are many bears and a limited number of dens, some individuals will not have a den. In such a situation, a cold winter could kill a high percentage of bears. If, on the other hand, there are few bears, most would have a den to provide them with protection from a particularly harsh winter. In this case, the cold would kill a lower percentage. It's also worth noting that some biotic factors like introduced diseases to which native organisms are not adapted can act in a density independent manner, since they may kill virtually all their hosts regardless of their density. Such was the case for chestnut blight, which killed nearly all American chestnut trees in the middle of the 20th century. Unlike density-dependent limiting factors, density-independent limiting factors alone cannot keep a population at constant levels. That's because their strength does not depend on the size of the population. So they don't make a correction when the population size gets too large. Instead, they may lead to erratic, abrupt shifts in population size. Small populations may be at risk of getting wiped out by sporadic density-independent events. Besides density-dependent and density-independent factors, population in nature tend to be regulated via mechanisms operating either from the top or bottom of a food chain. These mechanisms have broadly been grouped under two subheadings: bottom-up effect and top-down effect. First, what bottom-up effect is. This model proposes a unidirectional influence from lower to higher trophic levels in which nutrients, abundance of primary producers, and other abiotic factors are the main determinants of population size in a particular community. The nutrient supply controls the biomass of primary producers, which controls herbivores' biomass, which in turn controls predators' biomass. If the nutrient supply is increased, the resulting increase in production of autotrophs is propagated through the food web, and all of the other trophic levels will respond to the increased biomass. Now, top-down effect. This model postulates that the control of each trophic level comes from the above-trophic level. It is mainly predation that controls population size in a community, because predators limit herbivores, which in turn limit plants, which in turn limit soil nutrient levels through their uptake during growth and reproduction. For example, if we have an increase in predator population, that increase will reduce herbivore population size, and ultimately that results in more primary producers because fewer of them are being eaten. Thus, the control of population numbers and overall productivity will result from the top level of the food chain down to the bottom trophic levels. One more mechanism that regulates population size in nature is law of self-thinning, or -3/2 power law. Usually, populations of plants under competition tend to maintain a constant distance between individuals over a period of time. This occurs due to removal of or by outcompeting the intervening individuals. The thinning occurs in accordance with the numerical equation, the slope of which tends to be -3/2. This was all about today's lecture. Thank you.